real quickly. This is Dr. Mike Grisanti. He is a professor of Old Testament at Masters Seminary in Los Angeles area, and good friend. And so I think you would agree that the community of those who take groups around here and teach from the standpoint of inerrancy is very small.
Very small. I do. Praise the Lord. Lord bless you on your trip. Thank you. Love you guys.
Thank you.
Well, if I would have known it was you, I wouldn't have hurried and got out of the way.
Hey, I'm a little upset that I thought we were fast and you guys are faster than us.
I was hoping you'd maybe beat it to get rid of those Philistines. Yeah.
Take care. Okay, so gather around this model, and we're going to look at the model, then we're going to look at the site. So look at this, and then look at that. And that's what you're looking at. Now, you see this hill right here. That's the hill that you see over there. It's not just a hill, that's a tell. Okay, so that's the tell of Beit She'an. And we're going to read a scripture here in a moment about Beit She'an. And when we're talking about Beit She'an, of course, we're not talking about all this stuff. We're talking only about that Old Testament tell site over there. Okay, now you can see the Harod that comes down through here, which is the water source for that ancient site. And we're going to read one thing that happened here in the Bible in a moment. But then what I want you to see is that then there was a invention that changed things, and that invention was the aqueduct. And when the aqueduct was invented, you could have your city spread out, and you could bring water from springs far, far away. You could bring water however you wanted to your city, and it allowed the cities to spread out. And so this is one of the Decapolis cities, meaning the 10 cities, the original 10 cities. There were more than 10 Decapolis cities. This is the only one that's on the west side of the Jordan River. Okay, and so when it becomes a city like this is during the Hellenistic period. So you remember the Seleucids, the Greek Empire. The Greek Empire. Alexander the Great died, and then his 4 generals were divided land, and one became the Seleucids, which were up in Syria, and the other one the Ptolemies, which were down in Egypt. And so this was the Seleucids that started this during the Hellenistic period. And the name of this city here that you see is Scythopolis, whereas that ancient Hebrew city there is Beit She'an, and before that Canaanite. Okay? And then in the Roman period, then it continues as a city. Now look at the walls of this city here as compared to the walls of that city in that tell, which are still buried inside that mound. In fact, one of the things that keeps a mound so shaped like a mound, like a tell, is those Middle Bronze walls, as we'll be seeing, that are inside of there, that keep that shape. Okay, now you can see during the Greek and Roman period, they put a temple up on top of the hill. That makes sense, doesn't it? And they put another one. They put another one at the end of the Cardo Maximus, which you see going down right here. This here is the theater, which is right over here. You see, there's a hippodrome down here. There's an amphitheater over here. The same kind of things that we've been talking about that happened in these other cities happened here. And then this road, you see the theater, and then you see that main road that's going north and south. That's a pillared road. Do you see that? That is called the Cardo Maximus. And I want you to remember that. Cardo Maximus means the main street that goes north and south. Huh? Cardo means street.
Also cardiology.
Yeah. Cardo Maximus, okay? And then at the very end, which isn't depicted very good on this, there's a temple. There's a little temple at the end there. I think it was a much bigger temple than what they have depicted here. But anyways, you go down the street and then you got your bathhouses in the Roman period, and you got all the things that you've got in a Greek and Roman polis city. Okay? But I just want you to be able to see, again, what keeps the shape of that mound right there is the walls that we're going to see exposed in excavation in other places. So I'm going to be reading out of 1 Samuel chapter 31. 1 Samuel 31. Now, one thing we're going to do you remember seeing Mount Gilboa from the other side at Megiddo? So Mount Gilboa is right there. And one thing some of us will do, you see those stairs that go all the way up on top? Some of us will climb up to the top and take a look around. I don't know how much we're going to be able to see with the haze and everything, but and then we'll come back down. Not everybody obviously needs to do that, so you can wander around these ruins and take a closer look at those who don't want to do that. 1 Samuel 31. Now the Philistines fought against Israel. The Israelites fled before them, and many fell dead on Mount Gilboa. And if we climb up there, we'll see Mount Gilboa right over here. For the rest of you, you'll see it as we pull out of Beit She'an and go down. You'll see it out the right side of the bus. The Philistines were in hot pursuit of Saul and his sons, and they killed his sons Jonathan, Abinadab, and Malchishua. The fighting grew fierce around Saul, and when the archers overtook him, they wounded him critically. Saul said to his armor-bearer, "Draw your sword and run me through, or these uncircumcised fellows will come and run me through and abuse me." But this armor-bearer was terrified and would not do it. So Saul took his own sword and fell on it. When the armor-bearer saw that Saul was dead, he too fell on his sword and died with him. So Saul and his 3 sons and his armor-bearer and all his men died together that same day. When the Israelites along the valley and those across the Jordan saw that the Israelite army had fled and that Saul and his sons had died, they abandoned their towns and fled, and the Philistines came and occupied them. The next day, when the Philistines came to strip the dead, they found Saul and his 3 sons fallen on Mount Gilboa. They cut off his head and stripped off his armor, and they sent messengers throughout the land of the Philistines to proclaim the news in the temple of their idols and among their people. They put his armor in the temple of the Ashtoreths and fastened his body to the wall of Beit She'an. Okay, so this temple that was probably on the summit of the city, and there have been temples found up there, and we'll see some of the ruins of them when we go up there. And then they fastened on the wall their bodies. Now it says, when the people of Jabesh Gilead heard what the Philistines had done to Saul, all their valiant men marched through the night to Beit She'an. They took down the bodies of Saul and his sons from the wall of Beit She'an and went to Jabesh, where they burned them. Then they took their bones and buried them under the tamarisk tree at Jabesh, and they fasted 7 days. So Jabesh Gilead is in Jordan, on the other side of the Jordan River. Okay, so why are the men of Jabesh Gilead? This is one of the sites that I visit when I'm over in Jordan. Why would the men of Jabesh Gilead come over here and take the bodies of Saul and his sons back and bury them at Jabesh Gilead? Let me just give you a summary of why, and I'm going to just give you just the basics, but remember the story. Saul is from the tribe of Benjamin, and so he's at Gibeah, a site just north of Jerusalem called Gibeah. If you remember the story of the guy who's traveling through with his concubine, and his concubine gets horribly raped at Gibeah, and he cuts her body up, and sends it to the 11 tribes of, meaning all those but Benjamin, and gathers them for war against Benjamin. They fight against Benjamin. They lose at first, but then they have a great victory, and they decimate the Benjamites. down to, what is it? I think it's 700.
600.
600 men, or very few men. And they make a vow that nobody is to give them wives. And so they've got this problem. It's a desperate problem. They're about to lose one of the tribes of Israel. Serious stuff. So as a solution, they're having a festival out in the vineyards at Shiloh, and they send the men up there to go steal some wives, and they go in there and grab their wives and run off, but still there's not enough. And so they're in a desperate situation, and they ask this question: which are the cities that did not come and fight with us against Benjamin? Jabesh Gilead. So they go to Jabesh Gilead, they kill the men of Jabesh Gilead, and they take the women, the Benjamites, as for themselves. And from that time on, that's how they're connected then to the tribe of Benjamin. They're intermarried with them, so that when Saul, the Benjamite king, and his sons are killed, they're the ones that come and give them proper burial. Okay, so that's that. Where is Rach?